Bear down, Chicago Bears. So, Emmanuel Ogbah, let's have that conversation. We need an edge rusher. That much is very, very evident. Even if you are like me, I like DeMarcus Walker. I like what he brings to the team, but he's a run first guy. We need somebody who can get after the quarterback. And you might be saying to yourself, what about Austin Booker? It is possible he's just not ready for it. This NFL is a tough game, and he is a new guy coming into the league. There's going to be a learning curve, and it would be great to have him learn behind some greats. Montez Sweat, of course, being one of them, but we need somebody on that other end at least for this year. The depth on the roster is pretty lean on the defensive line, so we have to look for somebody who can fill that need. And the Bears currently want Emmanuel Ogbah or Yannick Ngakoue. Now, I'm going to make that play saying that I think that the move here is Emmanuel Ogbah. And I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to point out, like, this, it's going to take some maneuvering to make this happen. I'll show you the finances of it, and perhaps we can find a way to get Emmanuel Ogbah on the team. But let's check it out. By the way, if you like this type of content, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, bell to be notified of future content. All right, guys, I've taken the liberty of getting Spot Rack up here. We're looking at the available edge rushers in free agency, and it's led by Emmanuel Ogbah, followed by Carl Lawson, Yannick Ngakoue. And we're going to stop right there with those guys. That seems to be as far as we're going to go when it comes down to it. Either you get an impact player or you don't. Now, Emmanuel Ogbah with the highest salary is the one that we probably want. This is the guy that makes teams better, right? Carl Lawson, he last year told the New York Jets he's a football player, not a cheerleader. I don't think that's the type of attitude that we want. And I'm not saying that you should be a cheerleader, by the way, for your team. I'm not saying that you should or should not be, something that you're not. But it is a little bit awkward and a little bit odd when you see something like that happen, and they're saying that publicly. That's not good for team morale. So I think we basically cross Carl Lawson off this list and say there's just no way. Now, I am a fan of Yannick Ngakoue. I do believe that he didn't get a fair shake here. He came in, was injured, a little banged up, start the season, wasn't ready to perform. Didn't really get going until Montez Sweat got here, and then immediately got injured, so he only had 4.5 sacks, where he had previously averaged 8.5 for every season of his career up to that point. That was 6 years in a row. So I would tend to think that he has some opportunity, and since he's an old Chicago guy, we might be able to bring him in at a nice little discount. So $10.5 million after a bad season, you can probably pick him up in the $5 million range. Now, it does take some maneuvering to get even that. The big one here, of course, still is Emmanuel Ogbah. Emmanuel Ogbah is the one that I think that we should be wanting to get on the team. Now, what does that look like to get Emmanuel Ogbah on the Chicago Bears? So right here you have the salaries that are available. Now we're going individual here. We're not going total. We're going to get to the total very, very shortly. But obviously we've got Montez Sweat 25, Keenan 23, Tremaine 22 million. We have some expensive players on the roster, but there's a lot of less expensive players on the roster. As you can see right now, we have an 89-man roster. We have not signed and added DeAndre Carter, Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze's contracts into this mix yet. Now, when we do that, that's going to create a problem. Let me explain here. We've got dead money right now. As you can see, we've got $5.5 million, $4.1 million, and we've got Justin Fields dead money. There's a good hit here that we're taking in dead money. Right now, we're talking about $14 million from each and every one of these players. But here's the cap totals. Right now, we're down about $8 million. We're about $8.8 million over the overall salary cap. However, with our top 51, we're going to take a smaller roster into the season, of course, and that's going to leave us with about 21 million. However, here's the problem. The problem is we haven't added DeAndre Carter, we haven't added Rome Odunze, we haven't added Caleb Williams. They're going to eat up most of that money. So we're going to need to find a way to add in Emmanuel Ogbah in the range of $10 million. So of that 53-man roster, of course, but of what we've got available, when you start to look around here, how do you make moves? Now, if you guys remember, I told you Khalil Herbert would be a good guy to move on from, but let's consider here his dead cap money, 32,677. He's got $1 million contract, so you could free up about $1 million, 1.05 million if you needed to bring somebody in. Also, as you start to move up here, you've got Jake Martin, 1.15, but 670. You're looking for a guy. What you need is somebody who can you can reduce that salary cap with no exposure. In fact, Kari Blasingame might be that guy, 1.6 million with no hit on dead cap space. Larry Borum with that $3.2 million contract of his, only 83,000 in dead cap space. So there are some opportunities, and you've got Andrew Billings at 3.5. Now that is a cut that I don't want to make because I like Andrew Billings. I like what he brings to the team. I like that he's a good run stopper, and he takes up a lot of space in the middle, and we don't have backups for that. So this is a complicated and difficult sort of situation as you start to get into the range here of where we've spent our money, and you start to look at your dead cap space, what it's going to count against. Now, if, for example, DeAndre Swift, we've got 14 million in dead cap money, he's making 5.8 million. But here's the point: he's in 2027, so that dead cap space, the more he's here, the less that the dead cap space goes down significantly. The longer the person is signed with the team. The problem here is, where do you find enough space here to make that happen? So Colin Johnson, probably gone. No dead cap hit here. So you can make it happen. Here's the thing. You could make this happen. Dominique Robinson, you get rid of him at $1 million, 136,000. So you're freeing up. There's some spots here where that you can free up some space. So Emmanuel Ogbah looks to be one of those guys where it just seems like there's a good fit here. The question would be, will he take a hit on $16 million? Will he come to a team that's on the incline, if you will, coming up, going to probably have a really good season this year? But where does that make him fit in the long term, and can he use that and springboard that into a much bigger or more robust contract? And we're not going to know because, as Dave Wanstead said, we'll probably look for an edge rusher 1 or 2 weeks into training camp. And you might be asking yourself, well, why do that? What if Austin Booker is as good as advertised? What if he is what we think he is? What if DeMarcus Walker shows an enormous amount of improvement? These things could change as we break them out. But the simple fact is, at this point, the best option for the Chicago Bears is, number 1, Emmanuel Ogbah. Number 2, not Carl Lawson, but Yannick Ngakoue. Again, some of you are not going to like Yannick Ngakoue because he didn't give you 8.5 sacks last year. But I would say, between injuries and between the difficulty it was to get this team motivated on the defense to start this season, the amount of points they were giving up early before they got it together, before the trade for Montez, but before all of these things happened, it was very difficult to do anything on this defense. So having somebody like Yannick Ngakoue come in after last season on a discount, and get an opportunity to run it back, if you will, make those plays, that might make the most sense. But I'm going to hold out. Emmanuel Ogbah is our guy. I think that's the one. I hope that the team's going to agree with me. I hope we see that happen. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you like this type of content, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, and the bell to be notified. And remember to bear down and FGB. You know what that means.